Very good afternoon, my dear students. Welcome back to civics class. In this class, very interesting as well as very important concept that we are going to discuss, that is the executive. The second organ of the government, that is the executive. As we have learned in the beginning of civics class, that there are three main organs are there in any form of government, that is state government or union government consists of three main organs, that is the legislature, the executive and the judiciary. As we have learned that the legislature, one of the organ which makes the laws, and second one the executive which implements the laws and runs the government in a smooth way. Second organ consists of the executive, which is consists of the government which implements the laws and runs the government in a smooth way. And third organ, judiciary, if any citizens of India does not enjoy the laws, and it protects the laws and ensure that all the citizens of India are getting justice with the laws. So these are the three major organs. Second organ, that is the executive. It is the composition of the president, vice president, the prime minister and the council of ministers. What is the composition of the executive? The composition of the executive is the president, the vice president, the prime minister and his council of ministers. Okay, now we will see more briefly about this organ, the executive. Next, what is the tenure, duration of the council of ministers? How long they can enjoy as the council of ministers? What is the term or tenure of the council of ministers? The normal term of the council of ministers is 5 years, but it is answerable to the Lok Sabha and can remain in office so long as it enjoys the majority support in the Lok Sabha. Actually, normal term or tenure of the Council of Ministers is 5 years. Once general elections are over, 5 years they can enjoy as the Council of Ministers. But they have to be answerable to the members of the Lok Sabha also. The leading party, the majority party, those who formed as a government, these members, council of ministers as well as the prime minister should be answerable to the other members of the Lok Sabha. If they lost the confidence of the members of Lok Sabha, then they will have to prove the confidence of the members of Lok Sabha, then they can continue, or else they will have to resign. That I will explain now. Here, what is normal term? Actually 5 years. Until they are gaining the confidence of the Lok Sabha members, they can continue 5 years as their term. But if the Council of Ministers lost the confidence of other members of the Lok Sabha members, then they will have to prove, or else if they could not prove, they will have to resign, including the Prime Minister also. Here I will explain about the concept. These Council of Ministers, based on the responsibilities, again divided into three sectors. That is cabinet ministers, the ministers of state and the deputy ministers. Here cabinet ministers means how, in the previous chapter we have learned that the subject matters which can be made as laws have been divided into three categories: union list, state list and the concurrent list. Do you remember? In the same way, these ministers, council of ministers also divided as three based on the importance. Cabinet ministers, the ministers of state and the deputy ministers. The departments, very important departments which can be taken are considered as cabinet ministers. The prominent party members who are given charge of the most important portfolios. The prominent party members who are given charge of the most important portfolios are made as cabinet ministers. That means they are the most experienced members and take part in all the important decisions of the government. Here for example, the important departments means important portfolios means important departments like defense, external affairs and foreign affairs. Such kind of important departments will be mentioned as cabinet ministers, will be given to the important experienced people, members. Next, the second category, the ministers of state also hold independent ministers but they do not attend cabinet meetings. They need not to attend the cabinet meetings, the second category. These ministers, for example, agriculture, education, these kind of departments will be appointed by the ministers of state, and they also hold in as independent ministers, but they do not need not to attend the cabinet meetings. Third category of this council of ministers, deputy ministers. In the word itself we can see deputy, just like assistant. These work as the assistant ministers for cabinet ministers as well as the ministers of state. The deputy ministers assist the cabinet ministers and the ministers of state. Now, one more important, very important, all are important, which are helpful, which will be helpful for you in the 10th standard board exam, my dear students. Everything you learn, keeping in your mind, as it will be beneficial for you 10th standard board exam. Collective responsibility. A new concept, collective responsibility. I think you can understand the word itself, collective, together, responsibility. Who are collectively responsibility here? Here, Council of Ministers are collectively responsible. For whom they are collectively responsible? To the Lok Sabha. Now I will explain here. As we know that the majority party members will form as a new government, including Prime Minister and Chief Council of Ministers. They should be answerable always to the other members of Lok Sabha, like opposition party. Then many other parties, smaller parties will be there. Those who are appointed as the MPs from different parties, right? Their work is always to criticize the government. So they should be answerable. These government members, those who are formed as the government, these people should be answerable whenever other political parties, opposition parties are questioning them. They should be answerable to them. One of the unique feature of the parliamentary form of government is the principle of collective responsibility. It means that the Council of Ministers is collectively responsible to the parliament, especially to the Lok Sabha. With the Prime Minister heading them, the entire Council of Ministers works as a team. Once a decision is taken in the cabinet, it becomes the responsibility of all the ministers to defend it. Here one decision, as we have discussed, that cabinet ministers always they sit together, and all the important decisions, important matters on the laws which were made by the parliament, the laws they will discuss about the laws, and they will try in what way they have to implement for the citizens. The laws, new laws which are brought, they have to discuss in what way they can use to implement for the citizens of India. So here these people, especially the cabinet ministers, are together, the Prime Minister, they will discuss about the matters, and finally they will bring how to bring the policies to implement the laws. When they are bringing in front of the people, before that they have to discuss and they have to take the decisions which will be favorable for the people, citizen of India, and in the form of new policies. These policies, if any of the policy is not acceptable by other members of the Lok Sabha, they will put as a no confidence towards the minister. This policy we are not agreeing. If that is accepted with more than 2/3 majority in the Lok Sabha, then all the Council of Ministers, including the Prime Minister, they will have to resign completely. If it is accepted with more than 2/3 majority in the Lok Sabha members, out of 540 members, entire ministership have to resign. That is why before bringing the policies, before trying to implement the laws, they will discuss and they will take decisions. Once a decision is taken in the cabinet, it becomes the responsibility of all the ministers to defend it, to safeguard it. If a minister is not willing, if any one minister, cabinet minister, is not willing to accept a decision taken by the cabinet, then he must resign. If the policy of any department is criticized in the parliament, as I have told, any policy to implement the laws which is brought by the laws which are brought by the parliament, they have to make as new policies. These new policy, before implementing, then they have to discuss, decide and take decision, And finally, if it is if any policy is criticized by other parliament members, especially by the Lok Sabha members, they have to all the ministers must defend the department and refute the criticism. Refute means deny or reject the criticism. They should be ready to reject the criticism. If they have to be answer, yes, our policy is like this, we are going to implement. What are the benefits of the new policy? In what way they are going to implement? All these things they should answer. Then if any decision taken by a minister is put to vote in the parliament and does not get the support of the majority, then it is called a motion of no confidence and is passed against a minister or the government as a whole. A motion of no confidence. What is a motion of no confidence? If any decision taken by a minister is put to vote in the parliament and does not get the support of the majority. Okay, now they brought whatever laws made by the parliament, according to the laws, to implement them. This new government, including Council of Ministers and the Prime Minister, they will decide, they will discuss, and they will bring a new policy to be implemented. This policy, if it is after putting in the Lok Sabha, if Lok Sabha members did not agree with the policy, they can put a vote of no confidence. We don't have confidence on this new policy, like that. If that is accepted with more than 2/3 majority, then entire ministers have to resign. So in such a situation, the entire Council of Ministers has to resign. That is why Council of Ministers is said to be that they swims or sinks together. Council of Ministers swims. If they are swimming, happily they can swim. If once anything happened, entire ministers have to sink. That is why Council of Ministers are said to be swim or sink together. And according to the reduced portion this year, my dear students, the powers of the Prime Minister is not much more important, but it will be helpful for you in 10th standard portion. So just you can have a glance. Any 4 you can make out also. I will give for the test and exam as well, but you can have a glance of the powers of the Prime Minister. Okay. While the President is the head of the state, the Prime Minister is the head of the government with vast powers and many functions. Some of the important functions of the Prime Minister are stated here. He or she is the central figure in the formation, existence and termination of the Council of Ministers. He or she distributes portfolios, means important departments of ministries among the ministers. He or she keeps an eye on the working of all departments and has the right to advise them if necessary. He or she presides over the cabinet meetings, means presides, president of the cabinet meetings. He arranges the cabinet meetings and coordinates the work of the ministers and sorts out differences and sees if the cabinet is working as a team or not. Next, he or she is the link between the president and the council of ministers. Next, he or she is the spokesperson of the government. Whatever policies they had discussed along with Council of Ministers, finally he speaks in the Parliament on behalf of the government. Next, he or she is the leader of Parliament, especially the Lok Sabha. Next, he or she can reshuffle his cabinet, means changes the portfolios and departments. He can change any of the member to other department also, or change the portfolios, or he or she can ask any erring minister to quit. Erring means doing error. Here any minister is doing wrong, he or she can ask the person to quit the department. That means to quit, to resign from the ministership. He or she advises the president to summon, prorogue or dissolve the Lok Sabha. Next, he plays an important role in all decisions with regard to foreign policies. Next, he or she recommends appointments like appointment of Chief Justice of Supreme Court and judges of the Supreme Court and governors of the state and so on. He or she with the emergency powers that are formally given by the constitution to the president are actually exercised by the prime minister. I will explain you. This comes in the functions of the president. The president can announce emergency powers on the spot, but that also can be done with the suggestion of the prime minister. These are the important powers of the prime minister. Any 4 important powers and functions you can write time being, but as according to reduced syllabus it's not there, but it is very important as the 10th standard board exam purpose.